Look, right now my lighting is booty cheeks, but I needed to just get this dot out while I was in the beginning of this because this was my crazy brilliant idea of how to learn how to do this in a week. And this is the face of someone who just opened it for the first time and realized how difficult it was going to be. So we'll see if I can come back to this moment and prove myself wrong, but right now I don't know if I can do what I set out to do. What's up, all my fellow crappy gamers? I am Crappy Gamer Cole, and today I'm here to talk about myself a little bit. Not only am I here to talk about myself and my journey to being a content creator, but I'm also here to talk about my journey through life in general, because like most people, my journey through life and my journey to be a content creator and where I'm at today are very heavily intertwined. And instead of just sitting here telling you about who I am and how I've gotten to where I am, I've decided to be the most me I could be and make it as complicated as possible. So instead, what I've done is I have taken this entire week to learn how to build Fortnite maps. And I have built a Fortnite map representing the different stages of my life and my content creation journey. So today you're going to get a little bit of me talking and a little bit of me showing. And I am specifically doing this because I am still in the Respawn Recruits Challenge. So where I want to start is actually here in Florida. Now, while I was born in Florida and spent my early years there, I have some memories of it, of course. I have memories of the people, the culture, the places, the beautiful beaches. But I don't really consider myself to be from Florida. I know a lot of people heavily identify with it, but that's just not me. I remember it fondly, but it's not who I am, and it's not where I consider myself to be from. There are positives to it, of course. Like I mentioned, the beaches, the culture, the people, the food, and the beautiful beaches. And while I enjoy and love all of those things, it's not me. It's a place I would go maybe to take a vacation, but it's not who I am. And it also really has nothing to do with who I am as a content creator, besides that's where I started in life. Instead, the place I consider to be my hometown, the place I consider to be where I'm from, and the place I considered to be the place that shaped me as I am, as a person, as a content creator, as anything in life, is in North Carolina. I've spent most of my life in North Carolina, and just like any other place, there are positives and there are negatives. I grew up in a very small town. I've spent most of my time on a family farm. It taught me a lot of things. It taught me to work hard and to be humble and to appreciate what you have, big or small. And all of those things are positive things. But it also came with limitations. It came with limitations as far as how big you were allowed to dream, how out of the box your thinking was allowed to be, and how quiet or loud you were allowed to be about those dreams that you had. So in a sense, even though I was surrounded by nature and hardworking people and good people, I still felt stuck. I felt stuck in who I was as a person. I felt stuck in who I was allowed to be. But with not much else to do, this is also the place where everything began for me as a content creator. Although content itself was not exactly front of mind, video games really took over. I remember huddling around a very small and outdated television with me and my cousins, and we all took turns playing Super Mario, and I loved it. There was only a couple of buttons, it wasn't much to master, but it was so fun. It captured so much of my attention, and it really developed this sort of goal-oriented type of person that I am, because in everything that you approach, it can be a level, it can be a mechanic, it can be a boss fight, it can be anything. So I learned to associate things with video games with life in general. It gave me a way to cope. It gave me a way to move forward. So really, here in North Carolina, it gave me many things. It gave me a love for video games. It gave me my ethics that I have, but it also gave me a desire for more that I didn't see in the people around me. The people around me, while great people, were content with what they had, where they were going, which was, in a lot of cases, nowhere. And if you're content with that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I never was. I needed more. And that first step of more came when I went to college. Although it was within the same state, it was a very different environment, not only physically, but also in the people that were around me. It was again a very stunning environment in the mountains, but not only was I surrounded by all of this beauty, I was also surrounded by a multitude of different people from different places and different viewpoints. And although it still wasn't a very big town and it wasn't the biggest college in the world, it was really the people that made the difference. People from all over both the country and outside of the country all came together into this small college and brought their own viewpoints, their own experiences with them. And it's something that I appreciate more than I can explain, because it allowed me for the first time to dream bigger than myself, bigger than where I was from, bigger than what I could have expected. And still, at the same time, content creation was not really in mind, but I did get more heavily into video games at the time, and I allowed myself to dream big. And those two things really combined to make me who I am today and to pave the way for me getting into content creation to begin with. And although that journey for me was so vitally important, and I remember it really fondly for the good and for the bad, it didn't last forever because it's college and it's not meant to. But despite having these bigger dreams, despite having these bigger ambitions, these bigger wants, I didn't necessarily have a direction for those dreams and those wants yet. And without that direction, and without that, I ended up back in North Carolina, back in my hometown, back to the people that I loved, but also back to being stuck. And I felt stuck for a really long time, and it got to a dark place. And I wondered, will I ever find this sense of self? Will I ever find this sense of accomplishment? And at a certain point, I decided to dip my toe into a bigger place to try to find my bigger life. And while I did, I ended up in the capital of North Carolina, but still a city, and it's Raleigh. And if you're familiar with Raleigh, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's not the biggest city in the world, but it is a city. It has plenty to do and plenty of cultures to combine, maybe not as much as other major cities, but it was a huge milestone for me to be able to be out there and to be able to achieve things on my own. It was the first taste of a life bigger than myself, and it was something I didn't want to let go. But like many people, personal circumstances can take all that away really quickly, and it did. I had some really large losses in my life, and it seemed to be back to back. So amongst those losses, that brought me back to my hometown in North Carolina. And it really felt like I went backwards. It felt like those couple of times I tried to grow, didn't matter because I was back. But they did matter ultimately, and I know that now. Because all of those things make me who I am as a person, and I know that. I do. And it made me want it more. It gave me a hunger, a determination to prove myself wrong, to prove everyone wrong around me, to just prove myself in general. So yes, I was back, and I was devastated by losses in my personal life, but I still had more to go. And I did. I started working on a lot of things. Professionally, I tried really hard to make things work in my regular 9-to-5 life. I tried to just grow as a person and get skills that I needed that were applicable to life in general. But also, I started to allow myself things that I have always wanted to do. I mean, video games were always such a large part of my life, but to an extent, I always kind of put them on the back burner because I had a lot of people around me who said it was a waste of time. Go find something else to do. This is not worth it. But it was to me, and at this point, I was old enough to recognize what I wanted, because what may be a time waster and a hobby for others may not necessarily be the case for me. So at this time, I had a lot going on personally, which included some health concerns, some very scary health concerns. And during those health concerns is really when I put myself completely into video games. There was times where I wasn't even able to really sit up and hold a controller. And anytime that I couldn't, I turned to people who could do what I wanted to do. And that's really when content creation, in my mind, really sparked a fire, because I got to watch people do the things that I wanted to do. My sense of the world really expanded when I got to watch content creation. So I watched a lot of content creators, but so many of them I watched in awe because they worked so hard to create this entertainment for other people while enjoying their own passions of video games and other things like it. So all while I was healing physically, while I was being consumed by games and content creation in a positive way, I again thought to myself, it's time to go. It's time to leave. Everyone knew that I didn't want to be in my hometown. I loved it. I appreciate it. I'd love to go back now that I have been gone for quite a long time. But it wasn't the place I was meant to be. I wanted to be able to look people in the eye and say I was where I wanted to be, doing what I wanted to do, and that I was happy doing it. And throughout this time, over about a 10-year period, I made some online friends that championed me through this process. They championed me through my ups and my downs in my personal life. They championed me through my initial thoughts of content creation. They championed me just in general. And one of those people ended up being the love of my life. I decided to go to the person that supported me the most in a major city, in a place that had been on my list of places I wanted to be. And I kind of shocked everyone in my life when I decided to make this major move to a major city across the country. But I did it. So I ended up in the very large city of Chicago. And it opened my eyes in a way that I don't really know that I could truly explain properly. In the same way that I met people in Raleigh, in the same way that I met people in college, it's the same way that I got to be myself here in Chicago. Finally, I was around people and in a place where dreaming big was not only okay, it was the norm. And it didn't matter what the dream was. Did you want to be an actor? There's a place for that. Do you want to be a singer? There's a place for that. And do you want to be a content creator? There's a place for that. And I can't say that every day is the happiest day of my life or that it's a picture perfect life, because it's not. There's ups and there's downs just like anybody else. So throughout those ups and downs, I have really taken my time to grow in my own content creation. And there has been a lot of ups and downs. There's been a time where that content creation began on a laptop nearly as old as I was. And it was a struggle to get started, but I did it because I needed to. I was excited to see these numbers and the support of people that just wanted to see my content, that liked me as a person, liked my content, and were entertained by what I had to offer. And it was an odd feeling for people who I don't know personally to be interested in who I am and what I have to offer. But I have showed you a lot of these different things visually, and it wouldn't be the same if I didn't show you the next chapter. But this last section is a little bit different because it's where I'm going. And as you can see, it's blank. There's nothing here. I haven't built it, but I haven't built it yet is the point. But I find that to be an opportunity. But the beauty in it is understanding that that emptiness doesn't have to stay empty. It's something you can fill with exactly what you want. And that's what I intend to do. So I'm incredibly grateful for this challenge. I'm also grateful to each and every one of you who are still watching this. All I've ever wanted to do was inspire people in the way that I have been inspired. That is in no small part to my surroundings, my effort, my wife, and everything else that's combined in my life to lead me to where I am and who I am. But that's really all I wanted to do today, was to give you my story, give you the opportunity for yourself to learn and to grow and to never stop. And with that, thank you for watching.